sort of in disguise. I never have thought of myself as a feminist. I went into my career thinking of myself as a black person, and my issues had to do more with color than they had to do with gender, because I thought the injustices that I wanted to write about as a reporter had to do with color. And I think that the issue for blacks running for office is that they live in a world that is not the Silicon Valley, right? They don't come into contact with millionaires, billionaires in the same way that Dianne Feinstein, frankly, does, and other women of like her. So it is difficult for them to raise the kind of money that that white women or white men do, but that's changing. I mean, if anybody has shown us that that's changing, it's the President of the United States. Yeah. So it's all changing, and as we move up in the world, as people of color move up, Hispanics and blacks and Asians and whatever, we will all have a chance to dip into that pot of gold, I think. And then it becomes, as Laura's talked about, the chutzpah and the smarts and having good campaign managers like Gale.
Right, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Ginger. Yes. Important point. We have someone else back here.
Hello. I think Karen said one statement. Deborah, you said another one right now. Karen said something to the effect of people coming up to you thinking that you know everything and that you have the answer to everything. And Deborah, you were talking right now about the Rutland study of women being self-critical. I've worked with a lot of young women over the years. I've mentored, I've tried to encourage them, and I've seen some very, very strategic Latina women in particular that I've encouraged to go into politics, or I've encouraged them to promote themselves in whatever positions they're in to hire. And the thing that hits me, and it's not just Latina women, I mean, I think it's a lot of women I've worked with in general, is this concept of, I don't know everything. How could I possibly be in that position? How could I possibly run for that office when I don't have the answer to everything? And for a while, I've been working in the arts all of my life, so I'd say, take a theater class, take a debate class, do something that will give you the confidence to move forward. I'm kind of out of answers when I'm working with young women that think they have to be,
so
5 PhDs or 3 master's degree in order to do something, when on a basic human level they have all the expertise and the knowledge to do what they do, and I don't know what to tell them anymore.
So that's the question: is what to tell them.
What to tell them, and how to address that.
Just tell them to watch the California channel for a half an hour.
And they'll realize that they don't have to know everything.
If I can maybe just try to answer that a little bit. I think that for little girls, and as we grow into women, we're already, channeled in some respects. And I think, a lot of that's, despite all of the advances that have been made and all the changes that have been made, we still have a long way to go. But I think really in your position of being a role model, I think that's one of the most powerful things that we can do as women in government, women in politics. I don't think I ever really thought of myself as a role model. I actually grew up in an African-American community addressing issues of being a quote-unquote minority within a minority. And, I'm very glad to have had that life experience because, my nickname was Lemon Drop. In the community, I was the only lemon drop in a sea of chocolate. And, you learn certain collaborations and, communications techniques and friendships develop and alliances and so forth. And what I'm trying to say is that you don't ever really know what influence you are having on another person until that person reports that to you. And, I think you being in the position that you're in, I'm not sure what capacity or organization, if you're a teacher or a leader of a nonprofit or, whatever it is, but, your own exuberance and your own status as a role model is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do, and you have to accept that. Even if I may myself not feel, in fact, I felt very humbled being asked to be a part of this panel because of all the fabulous women on this panel and where they are in their careers. I'm just kind of one of these little freshman legislators, although, I've been around the block a few times, just not in the legislature. So, you just never know what influence you're going to have. So just be the most confident person and continue to share your life experiences with the women and the men that you come in contact with the goal of, trying to make things better for everyone. That's my advice.
Thank you, Mariko. Thank you. Right here, and then there's someone back here that had their hand up. We might start winding down. It's on, I think. Everybody hear me? Yes.
Test. For the television. First of all, I wanted to piggyback on the theme now, and that is, to what extent...
It's not on.
It's not on. Oh, they're waving.
Your light says it's on.
To what extent can each of you talk about how you are encouraging or working with other women, and young women in particular, to help them and mentor them? I think that each one of us in this room, regardless of a position that we're in, we have to remember that it is through women and through women's groups and support that we're only going to be able to continue to succeed in our positions. And each one of you hold and have experience. And so I would like to pose to you, are you involved in an organization? And if not, how do you ensure that you are at least reaching out to other women, and young women in particular, and letting them know you're available to answer questions?
There we go. Mic's on. So,
And mentor them.
in the midst of your busy lives, anybody want to jump in terms of role modeling, mentoring, how you're passing the baton? It's a challenge.
Actually, I have to jump in from a slightly different perspective because I have only had men mentors, and I have not had a woman mentor anywhere in my career. Having said that, I do try and make myself available to women in government, to women that are interested in advocacy, to the women, the young women that are coming into the Capitol, various fellows programs. And I do participate from a civic standpoint on organizations that involve women. But I do believe that there are still men out there that are willing to and do mentor women.
Thank you. That's an important point. Anybody else, Ginger?
As a black woman, there are young black men who need some real mentoring, some mothering. I mean, we talk about women as if women are in pain and suffering, but if you look at all of the indexes of pathology in this country, it's the men who are in prison at levels that are sort of frightening, especially black men, and they're less likely to go to college, and they're more likely to commit suicide, and they're more likely to be in violence. So we as sisters and the sisterhood and all of that is good, but we must recognize that, we're part of this human race, and there are men out there who are in pain too. And so when when people ask me to speak I always speak. And I want, frankly, to speak to more young men whenever I possibly can, because they impact young women, and they are a part of my life and your lives and all of that, I think.
Key point. Oh, Deborah, you go ahead, and then we'll take another question.
I have a little different way of doing it. I think that young people have really moved to electronic and social kinds of conversations. And so in addition to going to a lot of things, Girl Scout award events, junior stateswomen, and it's young men and young women, but I've put a lot of focus on outreach to young groups. But then I'm there on Facebook and on Twitter, and I'm personally available and can actually just, then what I want to do in those media is in particularly let young people know that I am not any different than they are, that they can aspire to be an assembly member, a secretary of state, this U.S. senator, a U.S. president, or serve in some other capacity as a lobbyist, as a journalist, whatever, that you know, I still put my pants on one leg at a time. I pump my own gas. I have cats. I garden. I want people to have a sense that just because our passion is public policy doesn't mean that we are somehow different or better than everyone else. And it's a media that lets me stay in contact with so many more people than I would be able to do, and just really want young people to know that they can do this too. There's nothing magic about it. You can do it.
Great. Did we have? Thank you.
I just wanted to say.
Yeah, we're having trouble with that.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, great. I've heard a couple of you say that you accidentally fell into the roles that you have now. So as a young woman, do you have any advice for being actually more strategic in getting to those positions? Because, I know that, life happens and you just happen to fall into things, but there's another part of that, being in certain places at certain times and being able to meet the people that kind of get you to where you need to be. So what are some advice that you have for that and making sure women do that? Does our campaign
consultant want to jump in?
Sure. Well, I think everything is strategic, but also you have to know a good accident when it happens. So, in other words, if you have the confidence and the kind of self-awareness that you want to go a certain way, then you'll recognize certain things when they come up. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but...
And what about Gale, and they look for it also?
Right, and so I think I came up, the same way a lot of people did, just by doing. I started at 17 in politics and never got out of it. And I did different things in it, but it was always learning and getting better and asking a lot of questions. And again, also all the mentoring that I got was from men. But I was willing to be pretty audacious and not let anything get in my way and not stop. And I think for you have to, kind of set a path and look for the opportunities. And a lot of it is just not taking no for an answer, too. And being willing to volunteer to do certain things, willing to put in the time to do things that nobody else wants to do so that you're in the right place when someone, has a baby or gets,
a baby.
Anna, a lot of the best opportunities are those because you just, in fact, were there. And somebody recognized at that moment you could do it.
I think a lot of that rings true for me. I think about what do I want to, in making decisions, what do I want to learn, how can I best contribute, and who can I learn from and learn with? And because whenever I'm doing things that I can contribute in and where I'm learning and where I'm with people who I can learn from and learn with, then I'm going to be the best version of myself. And that's going to help me be able to stand out and have the opportunity, and they'll be comfortable giving me the file when the person goes out on maternity leave, because
You've proven yourself.
because I'm willing to work hard and learn and try to do the best version of myself that be the best version of myself that I can be.
And I'm really glad you said the word learn. Because, here I am, a veteran of LA elected office, and I come up to Sacramento, and I am a novice. I don't know anything, and I was very comfortable in the student role. I'm not sure it's a gender issue, but I tend to think that women are more comfortable being humble and being a student. And then we could forget about whether there's a difference between us and men. But I think being comfortable, saying out loud even, I'm a student, I'm learning, help me, educate me, and people appreciate that. So, question over here?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mariko.
No, I just wanted to follow up because, I think the context is a little bit different today for those of us that are not Ana Matosantos, who is the youngest on the panel. Frankly, we are in a different era in California and in the nation, and that is that I think we're presiding over something that I wish that I was not presiding over, and that's really the devolution of many of our systems in education and in healthcare and in employment and transportation and infrastructure. And so the opportunities for us may have been better in some ways. I think the competitive situation now is harder for young people. And so, I'm going to work as hard as I can to reverse that, or at least try to halt the devolution or the implosion of California. It's not going to be easy, but, that goes a little bit back to my earlier answer about having to work with, people who just say no to everything and don't have solutions, or wish to have services but don't wish to pay for them. So, for the young people, and, I have two daughters, one turned 23 today, talk about sacrifices, but she's not. She's in San Diego. So I wish her happy birthday if she's watching. My two daughters are 23 and 25, and I know that their opportunities are a lot different than mine, and they just have to work harder and smarter than I think many of us. So, thanks.
There's one more, there's more questions, but I think we're going to end here, and maybe some of the panelists can stay for a few moments, and you can come up and talk personally with them.
Hi, my question is to Ana, and it's about breaking the stereotype. So there is a stereotype that I learned in this country. I was raised in Eastern Europe, and I never knew that girls are supposed to be worse in math and science and in physics than boys. So I just went ahead and went to the mathematical physical school, then I got PhD in physics, and after that PhD in psychology, because I just didn't know. When I came over here, I found out that women are supposed to be worse than boys. And so I did some research, and it happens that women do tend to have anxiety higher than boys. Twice as many women suffer from anxiety. So when you tell the girl that she's not going to perform well on math and physics, you basically create anxiety state, and the brain doesn't work normal. Prefrontal cortex doesn't work normal. But even with that, the test results actually show that girls are as good as boys. So if you take away the anxiety, if you take away that stereotype, to me it's just a completely stupid stereotype, because it's completely the opposite. All the way that I learned, and I've been in science for 35 years, the girls were the smartest. Women were the smartest. So for you, I know that you are in finance, and finance is as hard as math and physics because it's based a lot on math. And I know that boys will tell the girls in school that they should look good, they should look sexy, etc., etc. They wouldn't tell the girl that you should study math, and I like you better for that. How do you break? How do you break the stereotype? What's your experience? What worked for you?
And I think, to Ana.
I think again, it's some of what you talked about. It's don't be afraid and kind of launch into it. I work with lots of women in finance who are women in finance and who are very good at math, and And I think it's, in some ways, you know, part of it I think is, you know, math is like anything else. When I first came to, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and when I first came to this country, I was going to be an engineer. And it was the first time that I was taking math and English. And in some ways, it was helpful to remember that a lot of it is about learning a different language and learning the rules and applying the rules to the situation. And I think it's, you know, there are a lot of stereotypes that I think keep women out of certain fields, and definitely that is the case to some extent with math and science. But I see in the Department of Finance just lots of fantastic women colleagues and men colleagues who remember that that a lot of fields are about learning the acronyms, and a lot of fields are about learning the rules that sometimes are designed to keep people out. And sometimes you just have to put in the time to learn them, and to be able to work with them and work around them. And I think it's about conquering the fear, like it is in so many areas of life. At least that's been some of my experience.
So, I want to say thank you to all of you, to Karen and Abstentia. You